These are the 2.5 notes on multiplying decimals. We have modeled multiplication using base 10 blocks, and we have drawn pictures so that we have a mental image of what that looks like. But as the numbers get bigger, it really isn't practical to draw a picture every time we want to multiply. So we're going to use a traditional method for multiplying decimals. To begin, you're going to multiply just as you would with whole numbers, and then you add the number of decimal places in the factors, and the sum is the number of decimal places in the product. So when you look at this, when we've multiplied 13.91 times 7, you go ahead and just do the regular multiplication, and it ended up being 9,737. And then they counted the decimal places, 1, 2, so the number of decimal places in the factors, and then there were 1, 2 decimal places in the product. And here we had 6.218, or 6 and 218 thousandths. There are 1, 2, 3 places behind the decimal. So there are 1, 2, 3 places behind the decimal in the product. All right, so the first example is on multiplying decimals with a whole number. So what I like to do is to look and see which of the numbers has the most digits. So it's not necessarily the biggest one, because I know that 6 is bigger than 3 and 91 hundredths. But 3 and 91 hundredths has more digits, so I put that on top. And then I put the 6 underneath, and I'm going to line it up to the left, just like they were whole numbers. So you're not lining up decimals. This decimal is out here. You're not lining up decimals. You're lining it up all the way to the, I guess that's to the right, sorry. Okay, then we're going to multiply. 6 times 1 is 6. 6 times 9 is 54. Carry the 5. 3 times 6 is 18. Plus 5 is 23. And then I count the number of decimal places in my factors. This one has 1, 2. So there are 1, 2, counting back from the right. There are 1, 2 behind the decimal. All right, let's do that again. So now we have 0.016, that is 16 thousandths. So even though this is a much bigger number, this has more digits, so I wrote it on top. 3 times 6 is 18. 3 times 1 is 3, plus 1 more makes 4. And then I've got some zeros. And then let's count 1, 2, 3 places behind the decimal in the factors. So 1, 2, 3 places behind the decimal in the product. Okay. You have 3 U-tries. Be sure that you show your work in the U-tries. You're not just plugging a number into the calculator and writing an answer. All right. So then it gets a little bit trickier. We're going to multiply decimals by decimals. But the rules are still the same. You're still going to add up the number of decimal places in the factors, and then that sum is the number of decimal places in the product, right? So now we have 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers behind the decimal in the factors. So you're going to use 1, 2, 3, 4 numbers behind the decimal in the product, right? Let's do an example. So I have 4 and 8/10 times 7 and 2/10. And if I want to do a little bit of estimating, I might estimate this is about 5 and this is a little less than, or this is a little bit more than 7. So if I did 7 times 5, I know that I should get an answer that is around 35. The estimate is just a good way of seeing that you're in the ballpark. If you get an answer of 35 thousandths, that would mean that you had the decimal in the wrong place. If you got a number like 350. That would also mean that you had a decimal in the wrong place. So the estimate is kind of just to give you a general idea of what your answer should look like, right? 2 times 8 is 16, carry the 1. 2 times 4 is 8, plus 1 makes 9. Remember that you need to add a 0 as a placeholder. So we're done with the 2. So we're going to 7 times 8 is 56. And carry the 5. And 7 times 4 is 28. 28 plus 5, let's see, 28, 29, 33. Then add. 9 plus 6 is 15. Carry the 1. It's 4. And I've got 1, 2 places behind the decimal here. I'll use my different colored pen to show that. 1, 2 there. So I've got 1, 2 there. All right. And 34 and 56 hundredths is very close to my estimate. So I know I've got the decimal in the right place. Okay. All right. Then we're going to do 3 and 1/10. The 5 needs to go here. 0, 0. So I'm making sure that I'm lining it up to the right. And then that decimal was right there. Okay. 3 and 1/10, 5 times 5 hundredths. And what kind of estimate would I make for that? 3 and 1/10 times 5 hundredths. This is a really small number. That number is just a little bit more than 0. All right. So this should be a really small answer. So it should be close to 0. It's not going to be 0. It's going to be a little bit more than 0, but it should be a really small number, right? So let's go 5 times 1 is 5, and 5 times 3 is 15, and then I've just got zeros here, so I don't have to do anything else. So let's count our decimal places. 1, 2, 3 in the factors. So 1, 2, 3 in the product. And then if you want to, you can add another 0 just as a placeholder. Is 155 thousandths. Is that close to 0? Yeah, 155 thousandths is pretty small. That's pretty close to 0, right? Sometimes I think that the estimation is hard. Just do your best to get a reasonable answer. And the point of the estimation is not so much to get the digits right as it is to get your decimal right. So you're looking for, is it in the hundreds? Is it in the tens? Is it in the ones? Is it a really, really small number that's just a little bit more than 0? All right. Use the estimate to just help you get the decimal. Okay. And then we have a couple of problems where we have to use the order of operations. So when we look at a problem and it has a multiplication and also a subtraction inside parentheses, I know that I'm going to check and see if I have a grouping symbol. Do I have any exponents? Do I have any multiplying or dividing? Do I have any adding or subtracting? And so as I look across there, I see that, yes, I do have a grouping symbol, so I want to do this part first. Okay, so step 1, I'm going to come over and do some side work because I can't do this in my head, and I do want to write the answer over there. So I want 4 and 5/10, and I want to subtract 3 and 175 thousandths. And I know that when I'm doing addition and subtraction, I do have to line up the decimal. So I want to put 3.175. And then I'm going to add some zeros as placeholders. So first I just want to do the subtraction. Maybe I'll label this as my side work. right? Borrow from that 4, 5 and make it a 4. That's a 10, but then I borrowed and made it a 9. Okay, so 10 minus 5 is 5. 9 minus 7 is 2. 4 minus 1 is 3. And 4 minus 3 is 1. And then that decimal comes straight down. Right? So I'm going to write 1.325 here underneath, because when you do order of operations problems, I always want you to show your work going down. And then we're going to multiply that times 2.44. Okay, so then this side work, yuck, I don't want to do that. Okay, this one has lots of digits. In your homework, I tried not to give you too many like that. 0.125 and 2.44. So make sure that you are lining up to the right. All right. So let's do 4 times 5 is 20. And carry the 2. And 4 times 2 is 8. 9, 10. 0 and carry the 1. 3 times 4 is 12 and 1 is 13 and carry the 1. And 1 times 4 is 4 and 1 more makes 5. And then a 0 to show that I'm finished with that 4. Okay, and then this should be the same numbers again, right? So I should be able to go 0, 0, 3, 5. Maybe I'll double check. 4 times 5 is 20. Carry the 2. 4 times 2, yep. Okay, so that should be all the same. Add 2 zeros this time because I'm finished with both 4s. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, and 1 more makes 5. 2 times 3 is 6. You know, I should scribble all those out. Now I'm kind of lost my place. 2 times 5 is 10. Carry the 1. 2 times 2 is 4, 5. 2 times 3 is 6. And 2 times 1 is 2. 0, 0, 3, 13. 6 and 6 is 12. 3. And I'm going to double check in the book just to make sure it does not make a mistake. 3.233. Yes, we got it right. Okay, then now the important part, checking to make sure the decimal is in the right place. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So starting from the right-hand side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and your decimal goes right there. Goodness. Okay. So 2 and 44 hundredths times 1 and 325 thousandths is 3 and 233 thousandths. You don't have to write down those 2 zeros because they're just stuck on at the end, right? There are 2 U tries. This one doesn't look as bad, right? Because it only has 2 digits there, and that one doesn't look quite as bad, I don't think. I'm going to make you do all of that. You know what? I'm not going to make you do this one. Those are really long. I would like you to do one so that you can demonstrate that you know how to, which thing to do first, and also that you know how to line up decimals and also do the multiplication, but I don't think you need to do 2 big long problems like that. So the first thing you have to do is find out how much the tomatoes cost. They cost $1.89 per pound, and you are buying 2.7 pounds. So you have to multiply that first. And then even though with order of operations, you don't really have to have that set of parentheses, I think it makes it a little clearer. And then we're going to have a $10 bill, and we'll subtract however much we paid for the tomatoes. Okay, so the first thing I notice when I look at that is that there's a really long multiplication problem. So we'll just do it. Let's go do a little side work over here. 1.89 times 2.75. We got room there. Okay. 5 times 9 is 45. 8 times 5 is 40, plus 4 is 44. 1 times 5 is 5, and 4 more is 9. Add a 0 as a placeholder. Now we can multiply by the 7. 7 times 9 is 63. Down the 3, I'm going to cross out those 4s. Carry the 6, right? 7 times 8 is 56, plus 6 more. See, 56, 62. And 7 times 1 is 7, plus 6 is 13. And then 2 zeros as placeholders. And then we're ready for the 2. 2 times 9 is 18. I'll take those 6's out. Okay. 18, carry the 1. 2 times 8 is 16, plus 1 more is 17. 2 times 1 is 2, plus 1 more is 3. And then add them all up. 5, 7, 9, 10, 11, and 8 is 19. Carry 1 is 4. 7 and 4 is 11. Carry the 1, so we've got 5. And we double check that, make sure to make any mistakes. Good. All right. And then we're going to, the important part is deciding where to put that decimal. You're not going to just bring the decimal down. You're going to count the number of places in the factors, 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you count the same number of places in the product. Put the decimal there, right? And okay. And then this, here's a little tricky thing. This is money, all right? We can't give the cashier 5.1975. That's not how we write money. Money is dollars and cents. So we need to round to the nearest penny. So $5.19.75. This 7 tells us that we're going to round 19 up to 20. So we've got $5.20. Let me talk through that again. I'm going to round to the nearest penny. So I look at the next number, which is a 7. If that number is 5 or greater, that tells me to round up. So I'm going to have $5.20. If this had been a 4, then we would have left it $5.19, right? So now I've got 10 minus $5.20. And again, I can do a little side work, and I can call that 10, add some cents on so I can line things up, and then I need to subtract $5.20. And this is going to be $4.80. Here's a little pet peeve. When you are writing money, you have to have dollars and cents. If you had written that as 4.8, that is not how we write money. You must have the 0 on. And the dollar sign goes at the beginning, not at the end. Even though we say $4.80, we always put the dollar sign at the beginning here. So our change is $4.80.